We just got a text from our agent.
What's it say? We bought a house! We bought a house! Last week, we left off with the news that we went under contract on a single family home.
Well, the very next day, we also went under contract on the 5-unit bungalow. We went from nothing to our name to 6 units in a matter of hours.
Everything had been going so smoothly up until this point.
So we had met with the local bank a few times with regards to both financing for the single family as well as the 5-unit, and we had thought that we had everything buttoned up and ready to go.
So today was a bit of a rough day for us. We've been talking to the bank for the past week, and we thought we were okay to use them for financing.
Then we basically got denied.
So they made it sound positive before and broke the news today that it wouldn't work with us. So basically they couldn't give us a loan because we do not have W-2 incomes and we don't fit the traditional mold for bank loans.
We just met with the bank at our first potential property.
The banker paints a pretty grim picture for getting things done in this market, this hot market in this area.
I think he's skeptical of us because we're new to the area and new investors.
So this just highlights the need to have multiple sources of potential financing. You can't rely on a single bank. In case one does fall out, you have to be able to lean on the other ones. So fortunately we spoke to many banks and we now have one lined up, so it's looking good for the bungalow.
Let's talk about financing.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the banks that want to give us money.
We've got 2 different properties with 2 very different situations here.
So the bungalow is considered a commercial property because it has more than 4 units, and so therefore it falls under the commercial financing terms, which is very different than residential.
With commercial loans, the bank evaluates the property as an investment more than your personal finances.
Now they'd still look at your debt to income, debt service coverage ratio,
credit score,
global cash flows, and also your experience as an investor is played in as well. So with commercial financing, the rates do tend to be a little bit higher. So currently talking around 5.5–6% with more than 20% down, and there's often a balloon payment involved as well, which means that after a 5 or 10-year term, the rest of the balance is due.
Now with the single family home, since we don't qualify for a traditional bank loan, we actually had to pay all cash for that one.
So you might be wondering where we're getting all this money since we don't have jobs.
Long story short, we saved up.
I had a good job in San Francisco before I quit to do this.
And I've had my own online shop for several years now, and I've sold a few houses, so I saved all the money from that.
So while we had a good amount saved up, it wasn't quite enough to buy both of these properties at the same time. So that brings us to the 3 most important letters for real estate investors. OPM, which means other people's money. You down with OPM?
Yeah, that's my jam.
Even with a bunch of money saved up, you can only do so many deals. Your money will run out.
But with other people's money, you can do unlimited deals.
Now, leverage is a good thing, but you have to be smart about it.
Here are the ways you can buy investment properties.
So a bank loan is the easiest and cheapest way that you can get financed. Take advantage of this if you have a job and you have the opportunity.
And if you have equity in an existing home, you can take out a home equity line of credit, or
otherwise known as a HELOC,
or you can refinance and get some cash out that way.
So oftentimes you can find better rates with local banks, so be sure to search those out first before going to the big banks.
The next best option is private money. These are loans from friends and family, and you guys get to decide the terms.
So usually with these, you use a promissory note, which is a document that outlines the rates and terms and the timeline that you're going to pay them back. For these types of agreements, you're typically looking at an annualized rate of at least 8%.
We're actually working with a handful of private investors right now, and these are all people in our friends, family, and colleague network. And that's how we're able to buy both of these properties at once.
So you can also partner with someone where, for example, they might put up the money, you do the work, and then you split the equity and split the profit. And so if you can't get a bank loan or private money, the last resort is called hard money.
These are lenders who don't have very strict requirements, and you can have bad credit, no experience, and they get the money to you really fast, but they charge an arm and a leg.
So we're talking as high as 15 or 16% with potentially 3 or 4 points down. which is 3 to 4% of the loan amount upfront in fees. So we hope that we never have to use hard money, but it is always there as an option if we absolutely need it.
And of course, there's also plenty of ways you can get creative about this. There's seller financing.
There's things like solo 401ks or self-directed IRAs.
So these are just the basics. We could go on for hours about each of these. So if there's something specific you want to learn about, leave a comment in the notes below and let us know. Down here.
Down here.
Bye. See you next week.